Hey everyone, Duke here. Today I'd like to show you an item buffer and feeder for double speed item sorters that also unloads shulker boxes and filters out unstackable items. First, some background. I have been prototyping into a full storage system that will eventually be built in my single player world. One of the requirements of this system is that it sorts into that double speed. So you may say, alright, just point some hoppers into a dropper, set up a clock, and you're off to the races, right? Well, no. You see, if you actually tried that, then you know that a lot of times the items would actually just flow right past into your hopper and they wouldn't actually get sorted. The reason for this is that every time the hopper transfers an item into down below into the next hopper there, it enters a cooldown. Whenever it picks up an item, it enters a cooldown. During this cooldown, it cannot pick up any additional items from above. And this is why you need a perfect item aligner. As you can see in the double speed dropper dispenses items onto the trapdoors where they get a chance to group up. Then they're held by this trapdoor and sent off at a set alternating interval. Because of this, items will never skip over to hoppers. Because of how much time items have to group up, if you're trying to sort into stackable up to only 16 items, so say like ender pearls or snowballs, you're going to probably have some issues where, and if you get like a big sack of snowballs, they go to your sorter and they don't all get sorted because they all can't fit into your sorting slot. For reference, if I was to replace this wool with like say ender pearls, then it would only go down to 10 ender pearls, meaning I'd only have 6 slots available for incoming items. So I'd either have to go with a different design into here that allows me to have like two items in the filter slot, or alternatively sort out the stackable to 16 items and send them in the sorter concurrently with the stackable to 64 items, but at a slower rate so they don't group up into too large of groups in order to be sent off. If you're wondering what is the purpose of this, having three trapdoors here, even though we got water flowing on either side to help correct the items if they do get a little glitchy, it's because of this. Yes, that happened to me. An item literally got stuck on the edge and just was perpetually stuck there until it eventually despawned. So, in order to prevent that, 3 trapdoors. Alright, so this whole orange bit down here just has to do with the item feeder and aligner. What is the rest of this for? Well, when building an item sorter, you don't just need a feeder. Honestly, items often come in at irregular rates, and sometimes in large batches. For that, you need an influx buffer, which is this up here. But what about shulker boxes? Well, for that, we have a shulker filter. In addition, we are going to want to unload those shulker boxes, so we will have a shulker unloader. And obviously, it wouldn't make much sense to send non-stackable items down the water stream considering they would never get sorted, so we better filter those out as well. And when you put all those things together, you get this ginormous unit. Breaking down the components of the machine, right here we have the shulker box filter by YouTube user. I will not even try to pronounce that because I probably will end up screwing it up and butchering their name. Sorry, but you can read it right there. It's pretty darn compact and works pretty well. It's a 12 game tick shulker box filter, meaning you would need 3 of these running and all at the same time in order to saturate 2 individual hopper lines, or a double speed dropper. And then we have the shulker unloader, of which this unit uses 2 of them in tandem. This one is by Powa, and really the great thing about this shulker unloader is that it can handle empty shulker boxes. It will not break with empty shulker boxes. So this is the big feature with this one, and is why I used it in this unit. And lastly, we have the unstackable items filter. I ended up coming up with this myself, although I highly doubt that this is the original design. Basically, we just have cauldrons that have one level of water taken out, so they output a signal strength of 2, and to point into these comparators. And when a non-stackable item comes through, and it gives a output of signal strength 3, which is enough to, of course, overcome that and fire off the piston there. But if it's a non-stackable item, or I'm sorry, a stackable item, then it won't activate the system. So yeah, in my particular case, this works pretty good since we need to have 2 of them in order to, at most, and to sort out non-stackable items at 2x hopper speed on either side of the system. Getting into detail on the unit, starting here at the top, we have an influx buffer, and if this can end up taking items at 16 times hopper speed to basically get them out of there so that way they don't end up despawning. Right here in the middle we have 4 minecarts with chests, and that is where a lot of items will be stored end up temporarily when you get a huge influx of items. To demonstrate just how well end of this little thing can soak up items, I have a chest right here filled with various items and shulker boxes which have the following contents. So if I send these through, go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. As you could see, in just about 3 minutes time, this fiend soaked up 8 of these chests. Now, of course, at this point, the influx buffer is completely saturated if we take a look here at one of the minecarts and such. Moving down the unit, we have 4 shulker box filters. And as you can see, into their redstone is extended to these input chests. That way items don't get through and just back up and on them waiting to be ran through. That way they can always be evenly distributed from this single chest minecart down here. Any shulker boxes will get sent to this chest for temporary storage. If this chest happens to fill up, it will actually temporarily disable the input hoppers up here entirely. So that way it can go ahead and process this and get at least one of the shulker boxes out of here. And that right there is a safety feature in order to make sure this system doesn't break. Because if shulker boxes continuously backed up all the way up here to the shulker or the filter, then you could have a case where the system would end up breaking. And obviously that would not be good. This blue circuit right here will actually lock the hopper of the shulker unloader, and it does that to prioritize the loose items that come through the system over shulker boxes, because a single shulker box takes up, obviously, a single inventory slot, while in of itself it contains 27 inventory slots, where a single item takes up a single slot. Of course, it doesn't, contain any inventory slots in of itself, so for the sake of space efficiency, it's best to get rid of the loose items first. Then beyond that, we have the unstackable items filter. And down here, we have the convergence point between the 2 halves of the machine. If one of these chests actually start to get items backing up in it, then it will actually, as you can see here, send off a signal here, which will end up locking this half of the machine. That way items don't continuously pour in, eventually back up to the unstackable items filter and then breaking that. And then below that we have a temporary little storage down here / buffer for where the items will sit before they go off to the feeder. The great thing about this design is if at any point you wanted to stop this thing from sending out items, you could simply just go ahead and power this rail, and that will stop the system from dispensing items, and because of the safeguards in place, it will not end up breaking the system. Over here around back, we got the output for empty shulker boxes, so you could send them to your empty shulker box storage. And we got the output for the unstackable items, so you could just send this to an array of chests for storage and later manual sorting, or you could even send them to a unstackable items sorter if you so wish. Now, I'm not going to be doing a tutorial of this design, but one thing I will show you is how to set up the minecarts. So you have your 4 set of hoppers, and then you're going to want to take 3 end rods, like so. Take a rail there. It can also help to have some platform to work on. Place your minecart, either 1 or multiple of them. In this case, I'll do 4. And when you got multiple minecarts, gotta nudge them very carefully, because if you do it too quickly, they'll fly out all over the place like that. Attempt number 2. Go ahead and carefully nudge the minecarts in. You want to get them right into that corner. And there you go. You got them right there. So you're going to want to go ahead, break the end rods, cover the whole thing with sand. And you're good to go. If I had to describe this unit in one word, it would be throughput. This entire unit is designed around saturating this dropper, so that way there are always items dropping into the system and being headed off to sort. Now, if I had to describe this thing in 2 words, it would be throughput and reliability. I have done tons and tons of tick work using carpet mod, and this thing has been working quite well and such. I have encountered one edge case though. Every so often, very rarely, an item will not get sorted. It will end up skipping over the hopper. In my test world with my prototype item sorter, I ran over 21,000 items through the system. Out of that, one small group of like 16.6 did not get sorted in the system. So, out of all that, I'd say that's a pretty good track record. We can pretty much call that 100%, can't we? If anyone knows or can figure out a way, like what the edge case is and how to fix it into that would be great. But for my personal use, I think that's going to be good. Now, like I said earlier, I won't be doing a tutorial on this. However, there will be a world download in the description. And if you ever did decide to build this, one thing I'd recommend is making sure the entire unit is contained within a single chunk. Because redstone crossing chunk borders has had a history of things typically breaking and such. And for a machine like this, you know, the chances for something to break are just too darn high having redstone cross chunk borders. So make sure you build the entire unit inside a single chunk. Well guys, there you have it. My item buffer and feeder for double speed item sorters. The world download will be down in the description below. And yeah, if any of you want to take a crack at compacting this thing, please do. I know it could definitely be improved. So anyways guys, until next time, I'll see you all later. Bye.